I've taken the lessons that you've espoused over the years, delivering world-class customer service experience, lessons from the mouse, which is what you emphasize. You're moving from a task mindset,
Right. It's the
right
title
out
of
of
my
the book, from
Yeah.
a task mindset to an experience mindset. Experience, there's a lot of micro tasks under that. But if you're aware of that experience, explain to our audience, I know it could be a whole keynote speech, Dennis, how that mindset shift can create those unforgettable experiences for their attendees.
Yeah. And you used a term earlier that I think is right on in terms of those micro behaviors. So think about working at an event, that you're working the desk or whatever role that you have at the event. At the beginning, there's a lot of energy, right? We're excited. It's day one, people are coming in. And at that point, it's pretty easy, to be friendly and welcome people. Now it's day 4, and it's been it's the end of day 4. Sometimes you see a very different dynamic going on. The real professionals, the ones that really have it down, and the ones that recognize this has to be consistent throughout. It doesn't matter, if it's day 4. We would tell people at Disney, you might have answered the same question 1,000 times this week. This guest is asking it for the first time, and you're always on stage. You're always on stage. And that was a key philosophy. You never let backstage come on stage. You never say, oh, God, I've been working all day. I'm exhausted. The guests don't want to hear that. They want to hear that, the show is on. It's magic. And so that's where I think the discipline comes into play. And I hate to keep going back to it, but what do we want the experience to be? That's got to run through the whole thing. It's got to run through the whole thing. And again, that's where you have to really step up and say, no, the show is on.
Yeah, I love that. Don't let backstage come to the front of the stage, because, so I remind event production teams and even my own meeting planners, because I go on site a lot, and there might be some swirl going on. The power goes out. I've had power goes out at major convention centers. It's not like you're hiding it, but be responsible in a way and govern it in a way where it's not bleeding out to the front. They don't know that the hair and makeup person is late, or the mic that the speaker put on, the battery's out right before they go on. They don't know any of that. They're just there to get what was promised to be delivered. So I just love that comment.
Yeah. And sometimes you can actually come out stronger the way you handle things, because things do happen.
Totally. Yeah.
I know, with AV crews, I've worked with some fabulous AV crews where we have an agreement where, I'm wearing a wireless lavalier microphone, and sometimes something happens, they lose their connection, whatever. Maybe every now and then. It doesn't happen often, but it happens. Well, we have an agreement that I'll then go to the podium and use the podium mic, and then they'll bring up a handheld wireless, and it's very seamless. And, when a participant sees that happen, there's a sense of trust. There's a sense of, okay, these folks really have it together. Now, some of that certainly comes from experience, of just having gone through mics going out and things. But the other side of it is just thinking through, what are those things that can go wrong? What are those things that can go wrong? And how do we want to handle them? You talked about the backstage thing. One of the things that I think applies in the meetings world, it applies in any world. Imagine going to Disney World with your child, your precious child, and she's wearing her Disney princess costume, which is very popular there. The little girls that will dress up as a princess. Got the autograph book. Is in the park, sees Cinderella, runs over to Cinderella and tugs on her dress to get her autograph. And Cinderella turns around and she has a cigarette in one hand, a cup of coffee in the other hand, and says, "Kid, I'm on break." What would be the impact? There would probably be years of therapy involved, but it all collapses because backstage just came on stage. And so one of the things I challenge clients to think about, and participants in programs, is in your world, what are those potential smoking Cinderella behaviors? Smoking Cinderella situations where backstage creeps on stage, where okay, that was a disconnect from what we're trying to create here. And people that tends to stick with people, that smoking Cinderella image.
Yeah.
But it's a powerful one because it happens. And we see it happen all the time.
Yeah, no, it's a great anecdote, great analogy. And if it's not a cup of coffee, she's holding a martini, which is even worse, right?
Right. Well, that's a different,
that's a different kind of therapy too.
That's universal. Right. That's universal.
Exactly. That's another company not to be named now, Universal.